Let's talk about leftover money. In March, Daimler announced their earnings for 2023.
And the results shocked everybody, even Daimler.
Daimler Truck announced that 2023 was a record year,
with the company raking in 39% more in profits than the year before.
Daimler made nearly $6 billion in 2023.
And over half of those massive profits were generated right here in North America.
You'd think record profits for Daimler would mean a record contract for its workers.
But it looks like Daimler has other plans.
Daimler CEO bragged about the company's profits being red hot.
But he said that any leftover money certainly belongs to the company's stockholders, not the workers who create the profits.
The company plans to increase stock dividends by a whopping 46%.
That's on top of up to $2.1 billion on stock buybacks over the next 2 years.
After those announcements, Daimler stock prices jumped 18% in just one day.
For Daimler, there's always money for Wall Street.
But when us Daimler workers ask for our fair share, there's no money left.
That's why Daimler workers are sending the company a clear message. We make the product, we make the profits, and it's time to make things right.
Our wages have fallen far behind. Our job security is on the chopping block. Our families and communities deserve better. And we've sacrificed long enough.
We're done playing second fiddle.
It's time for Daimler to invest the American workers.
The money is there, the cause is just, and the time is now.
The company can't brag about having a record year in profits on one hand, and on the other hand, claim they can't treat Daimler workers with the dignity we deserve.
It's on Daimler to make this right, and we're not going to let up until they do.
We're ready to stand together for as long as it takes.
We're ready to fight for each other, for our families, and for our communities.
And we're ready
to stand up.
Stand up.
Stand up.
Stand up.
Stand up.
Good afternoon, UAW family. I'm excited to talk with all of you today about the historic strides our great union is making in the South, where courageous workers are making a stand against corporate greed. But first, I want to start things off, like always, by recognizing our members who are fighting for economic and social justice in all the sectors we represent. General Motors Aramark workers have just won a historic tentative agreement that will set the pattern for all GM members in sanitation. Under the tentative agreement, Aramark workers will receive raises up to 43% over the life of the 3-year deal. We also successfully reduced the time it takes to hit top wages to just 90 days. If ratified, this will be a record-breaking contract for Aramark workers, and it'll put pressure on the other 9 sanitation companies at GM that we're negotiating contracts with. I also want to recognize the UAW members at Mobilization for Justice, or MFJ, Local Union 2320 in Region 9A. They've been out on strike for 8 weeks. In February, the legal service workers at MFJ overwhelmingly voted to reject management's meager offer and go on strike. It's disgraceful that management at MFJ has forced their staff to be on the picket line for 2 months. It's even more disgusting that MFJ has decided to try and hire scabs. Workers at MFJ are on strike demanding their fair share. They're demanding equity for support staff. MFJ has the money, but management at this supposedly progressive nonprofit simply don't want to share. This Friday marks 60 days that legal service workers at MFJ have been on strike. So if you're in New York City on Friday, please join our UAW family on the picket line as they continue to fight for justice. I also want to acknowledge our UAW family at Harlow Products in Region 1D. They've been out on strike for 46 days. Our UAW family there is fighting for a more equitable pay scale and stronger health and safety language. Harlow Products CEO Mary Helen Crooks doesn't want to negotiate. She wants to dictate. She wants our UAW family to just shut up, sit down, and accept whatever crumbs she flings on them. Mary Helen Crooks wants everyone to believe that she's a kind philanthropist. She has made big charity donations to her college, but when it comes to rewarding her own employees, suddenly there isn't any money to go around. But our UAW family at Harlow Products has decided to stand up. I'm so proud of these strikers. They're leading the way for all of us, and we're standing with them until they win. Everything we do in our union is for one goal: to build the power of UAW members and the entire working class, to take back their lives from a corporate class that threatens to destroy our workplaces, our family life, our communities, and our country. Today we're going to talk about how organizing non-union workers and winning strong contracts everywhere is tied to our ability to win even bigger and better to enforce our contracts at the Big Three. I know we're not done at GM, Ford, and Stellantis. I know the companies are still trying to get away with whatever they can. I know that management at the Big Three is still trying to play games with our members' livelihoods. And I know the Big Three love stoking division between UAW members and our union's leadership. And I want to be clear. Your leadership is working on holding these companies' feet to the fire. We can't lose sight of the fact that these companies and the addiction to corporate greed are our true shared enemy. We have to stand together, and we have to keep fighting. And we can't lose sight of the fact that our ability to turn the heat up on that fire is directly tied to our ability to organize for bigger gains everywhere and put an end to corporate America's race to the bottom. Right now, there are 7,300 UAW members at Daimler Truck in the trenches of this exact fight. Daimler Truck, which builds Freightliner, Western Star brand trucks, and Thomas-built buses, is absolutely swimming in cash. The contract with Daimler expires on April 26th, this Friday. Between now and then, we're going to do everything we can to show this company that we are ready to do what it takes to win the contract we deserve. And as we're amping up the pressure, so will the company and their allies. We know what will happen. The company and the corporate media will increase their scare tactics, and they'll claim there's no money to be found for the workers. They want to say our righteous fight for a higher quality of life for the working class will wreck the economy or derail the transition to EV. They'll pretend that the sky is going to fall if we get our fair share of the $20 billion in profits Daimler's made since 2018. So let's break down the numbers. In this one chart, you can see the entire economic story of Daimler Truck over the past few years. Since 2018, Daimler Truck's profits have shot up 90%. Last year, they amassed nearly $6 billion in profits on the backs of the workers in North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee. For them, business is absolutely booming. You'd think it would make sense to share the wealth. Instead, Daimler's done what too many corporations are doing, hoarding the wealth for themselves and for Wall Street. Daimler Truck CEO Martin Daum made sure he got his own cut of the company's massive pie. Daum, by the way, just started at Daimler Truck in 2021. And in 2 years, he received over $7.5 million this last year in compensation. His pay skyrocketed in the last year alone by more than 100%. You heard that right, and let me say that again. Daimler Truck CEO Martin Daum gave himself a 100% pay increase in 2023 after only being on the job for a couple years. As you can imagine, Mr. Daum is very excited about all these profits generated by the workers. He recently boasted about Daimler's profits to the press. Daum admitted Daimler's profits are red hot. Daum claimed that any leftover money certainly belongs to the company's stockholders, not to the workers who made those profits. That brings us to the next group who's benefited from our members' hard work: Daimler's rich shareholders. Last year, Daimler distributed $1.8 billion in dividends to their shareholders. And this year, they're planning to supercharge that handout by increasing shareholder dividends by 46%. That's right. The shareholders are getting a 46% pay raise. Daimler is also funneling billions into stock buyback schemes that artificially inflate the value of company shares and further enrich company executives at the top 1%. That's billions of dollars that have been robbed from the workers who generated those profits. Meanwhile, Daimler workers whose sweat and sacrifice created all this wealth, they're actually in the negative. Between inflation rising 24% due to corporate greed and consumer price gouging, and the paltry wage bumps Daimler workers have received since 2018, these workers have seen their buying power collapse by 13%. These workers are struggling. We've all lived it. The price of everything, groceries, clothes, insurance, it's all going up thanks to corporate greed and consumer price gouging. But workers' wages at Daimler haven't kept up. When inflation skyrocketed and profiteering landlords jumped on the bandwagon and raised rents, workers felt it. And a few of our members were even forced out of their homes and had to resort to sleeping out of their cars. It's immoral and it's a disgrace. And now, the head of Daimler, the guy who gave himself a 100% raise, he wants to say there's no money for the people who build these vehicles. And the workers call bullshit on that. They're fired up and they're looking to make up ground. They're united in their fight to raise standards and wages for everyone across the plants. And of course, the company has all kinds of excuses why they can't make equal pay for equal work happen and raise everyone up, regardless of whether they build a semi-truck or a school bus. Of course, the company tries to explain away their greed by saying the workers don't understand the realities of the changing industry. Well, I've got a reality check for Daimler. When you hoard all the wealth and you share it only with corporate execs in Wall Street, the workers are going to come for their fair share. In the new UAW, we don't take concessions. We raise standards for everyone, and we fight for what we deserve. And we're not afraid to strike to get it. These workers know they're getting ripped off, and they've sent a clear message to the company. Without cost of living allowance, without job security, without a 4-year deal, and without a wage package that rewards equal work with equal pay, we will strike. This Friday at midnight, Daimler workers will go on strike if the company continues to bargain in bad faith and refuses to offer a deal that addresses those issues. It's time for record profits to mean record contracts at Daimler Truck. So to Daimler execs, you've got 3 days. Tick-tock. Our fight at Daimler is intimately connected with something else happening in the South. Auto workers at non-union auto companies have launched a national movement to organize their workplaces. This movement just won a historic victory at Volkswagen in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where workers overwhelmingly voted to unionize. The final count was 2,628 votes for the UAW and 985 against. 73%. That's not just a victory, that's a blowout. Everybody keeps asking me, How'd this happen? Why did a supermajority of Volkswagen workers vote to win their union this time around? And I think there are two answers. The first is that bargaining strong contracts goes hand in hand with organizing. Our union stand-up strike against the Big Three resulted in record contracts for our members. Auto workers across the country were paying attention. They saw how UAW members were standing up to the boss and winning. And after we won these historic contracts at Ford, GM, and Stellantis, non-union employers were tripping over themselves to hand out raises in an obvious attempt to discourage employees from organizing. We called those raises the UAW bump. Management hoped they could buy off workers. Instead, workers at Volkswagen said to themselves, if we can get an 11% pay raise because of what UAW members won at other companies, just imagine what we'll win when we have our own union and we can bargain our own historic agreement. Which leads me to the second reason we were so successful at Volkswagen. Because this movement is led by workers. When I was elected president, I promised that we would be doing things differently, and that included how we approach organizing. In the past, our organizing approach was top-down. Staff controlled the information, didn't share a lot with workers. Staff and union leaders made all the decisions about how the campaign was going to run. That's not how we're approaching things now. Instead, staff are supporting workers as they organize themselves. We're giving workers across the country the tools and resources they need to build a strong, representative committee in their own workplace. You can't organize a workplace of thousands of workers with a small committee. You have to recruit a team made up of workplace leaders from each line and from each shift. And those leaders have to be courageous and public. They have to be willing to talk to all their coworkers about what it takes to win your union. That's the path to victory. And that is how workers won at Volkswagen. And they didn't just win, they won big. Winning big is important because we need that organizing muscle, that unity, that determination to win big again at the bargaining table. That's what's going to change lives. All these auto companies are making record profits. That means a record contract is in reach for auto workers everywhere if they can build the power to win their union. That's what this is all about. Volkswagen workers put in the work. Hundreds joined the organizing committee. The Volkswagen organizing committee talked to their coworkers. Hundreds and hundreds of organizing committee members, activists, and supporters signed their name to a public petition encouraging everyone to vote yes. Volkswagen workers were courageous. They went to work every day proudly wearing a UAW hat, UAW stickers, and UAW shirts, so everyone could see that they were ready to win their union. Volkswagen workers kept organizing and demonstrating that they were ready to stand up, and they were strong and loud and proud about this fight. And they knew at the end of the day, nobody could win their union for them. I didn't win their union for them. Our staff didn't win the union for them. It was the Volkswagen workers themselves who walked that path to victory. But they didn't walk it alone. Our staff, our union, and hundreds of thousands of UAW members walked beside them every step of the way. And now the workers at Volkswagen have paved the path to victory for everybody else. Their historic victory proves that it can be done. And in the words of my good friend Jim Cramer from CNBC, the workers win. Across this country, millions of working class people saw what workers at Volkswagen just did, including the workers at Mercedes-Benz in Vance, Alabama. In just 20 days, Mercedes workers will start voting for their union. And the boss at Mercedes is already telling workers, you should vote no and wait and see what workers are capable of winning at Volkswagen. Mercedes management is telling workers it doesn't matter what workers at the Big Three have won because those are Detroit companies. I dare Mercedes management to tell that to the 4,500 GM workers in Arlington, Texas, or the 3,000 GM workers in Spring Hill, Tennessee, or the 11,500 Ford workers in Louisville, Kentucky. There are tens of thousands of UAW auto workers in the South, and they just won life-changing contracts because they didn't wait around to see what would happen. They didn't fall for the boss's lies. They didn't let the boss divide them. They took action. They took action on the Big Three together, and they won big. And in 2028, we're going to take on the Big 12 altogether. And that's how we're going to win bigger and win more than anyone ever thought possible. That's what all of our struggles have in common. From Daimler trucks in North Carolina, to Volkswagen in Tennessee, to Mercedes in Alabama, to General Motors in Texas, to Ford in Kentucky, and Stellantis in Michigan. In all of these workplaces across the country, we are organizing to build power for the working class. You know, I've heard some of the current UAW members say, why spend my dues money on somebody over there at a non-union auto company in the South? Well, let me be clear. This ain't charity. This is power. When our union made the biggest gains in labor history, it was because we represented all auto workers. There's a term for the percentage of workers who are organized in a specific industry. It's called union density. And density is destiny. Right now, 1 in 5 auto assembly and auto parts workers are union. We are a thorn in the side of corporations in the billionaire class. But when we step up and organize a majority, and then the vast majority of auto assembly and parts workers, we will shift the balance of power in society back towards working people. In 2028, we're going back to the table with Ford, GM, and Stellantis. If we want the leverage to win back our pensions and retirement health care, we need to organize the unorganized. And the Daimler fight is the same. Daimler is probably a familiar name to all of you. They once owned Chrysler, just before the financial crisis. They once owned Mercedes, where we're organizing. That's what we mean when we say we're taking on the corporate class, the billionaire class. These companies and the ruling class in this country all work together. Just look at the millions of dollars that auto companies and the Chamber of Commerce and their political puppets are pouring into the anti-union media blitz in Alabama right now. The ruling class in this country is united, and that means the working class must be united too. Our union cannot afford to have tunnel vision. We can't afford to only focus on our individual contract or our individual shop or our individual job classification. We can only win when we unite across those differences and meet the boss with our only real leverage, and that's our solidarity. Because our greatest strength is each other. Our power is in our numbers. That's why the companies want so badly to divide us. They want to divide us by state, by region, by company, by race, by gender, by who we love, and even by politics. We can't take the bait. We are all the working class, and the working class is winning. We won a record-breaking agreement at Ford, GM, and Stellantis. We just won our union at Volkswagen, and now we're going to win a historic contract at Daimler, and we're going to win at Mercedes. For my entire life, we've lived through a one-sided class war. Corporate America and the billionaire class continue to take and take while the working class falls further and further behind. But now we're building an army to fight back, which brings me to an important point. Belief that we can win is a precondition for winning. You have to have faith. Many of you know the first thing I do when I get up every day is I read a daily reading and I pray. Recently, my daily reading was Hebrews 11:1, which says, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen." For decades, corporate greed has threatened to destroy the working class. And for decades, workers have been told that their rights end at the workplace door. We've been told to shut up or starve. Too many people have just come to accept this because for decades, we were told that there's no other way. We were led to believe that resistance is futile, that the class war that's been waged on us for decades is unwinnable, that working class people don't have the power, the will, or the courage to fight back. Now, auto workers across the country are showing what happens when we have faith, what we could accomplish when we unite together and are willing to collectively take risk. Just look at our stand-up strike and organizing campaigns. They told us we would never win back cost of living allowance. They told us we would never win the right to strike over plant closures. They told us we would never put an end to wage tiers or a permanent underclass of temporary workers. And they told us we couldn't organize in the South. But we did. We didn't win by playing defense. We didn't win by playing nice with the company. And we didn't win by telling our members what to do, what to say, or how to fight. We are winning by giving working class people the tools, the inspiration, and the courage to stand up for themselves. In the 1940s, during World War II, UAW members built the B-24 Liberator bombers that defeated the fascists who would seek to divide and conquer the working class. The UAW was responsible for creating the arsenal of democracy that led to the U.S. winning the war. Today, we find ourselves facing a new authoritarian threat. But it's not some faraway country. It's not some other state. It's right here at home in our workplaces. And that threat is corporate greed. Everything we're doing is to beat corporate America and their plans to divide and conquer the working class. And we can win by uniting across the working class and encouraging workers everywhere to stand up and fight back. I'm wearing this new UAW hoodie today. It has the likings of a B-24 Liberator bomber on the front, and on the back, we have t-shirts too that says, "The working class is the arsenal of democracy." I want to say that again. The working class is the arsenal of democracy, and we are our own liberators. A united working class can change our economy and change our world. We have the power to win a just transition toward a green economy. We have the power to make sure that everyone has a right to health care, that everyone has a right to a dignified retirement, that everyone has a right to a comfortable standard of living. And if you believe in that fight and you want to support that fight, you can jump in the fight another way. You can go to store.uaw.org and buy one of these union-made hoodies or t-shirts. All the proceeds are going to go to support our union's organizing efforts. I want to end today by emphasizing one point. We aren't going to be saved by any CEO or by any president. Our power doesn't come from me or from you. It comes from us, a united working class. So let's stay in the fight and let's go move more mountains. I'd like to thank you all for looking tonight, and I'm going to try to look through a few comments here. I know there's going to be tons of comments, so bear with me for a second, and I'll try to respond to some of these. This guy doesn't care about us. I have my own agenda. No, I don't, brother. I got one agenda, and that's serving the membership of this union and making it better. Let's see here. Where can we buy these shirts and hoodies? You can go to our UAW website. Corporate greed's a big problem, you bet. How about continuing to hold companies accountable? You bet. You know what? And I agree with you 100%. Stellantis is at it, and trust me, the leadership here is going to fight like hell with the membership and make sure that they honor their commitments. So, fighting here in Normal, Illinois at Rivian Automotive. That's right. No Rivian workers there. You need to stand strong, and hopefully, we finish that fight there. We need to bring Rivian under the UAW. You deserve your fair share. And I see a lot of comments on here about Stellantis, and you know what? Stellantis is pathetic. Honestly, the leadership's pathetic. You know, you got a CEO over there across the pond that wants to talk about how they need to cut costs and all this stuff, but it didn't stop him from giving himself a 56% pay increase. Tavares' salary went from $23 million to $39.5 million. So, you know, they can stick their bullshit up their ass. We don't care about Tavares and his comments and his salary. At the end of the day, we're going to get ours one way or the other. I can guarantee you that. And don't lose sight of the fact that, this is the companies. These are the companies, and that company is the enemy here. Don't forget about Honda in Talladega, Hyundai in Montgomery, Toyota in Huntsville. You bet. All in Alabama, and there's all over the South right now, and workers all over the South are reaching out. And we got a great team of people working with them to give them the support they need, and we're going to keep building this. What's the plan to combat automation, outsourcing to foreign labor markets? Good question. And you know what? We're working across not just in our states and not just in the South here. We're working with unions all over this world right now. Just met this week with workers from Mexico, with leaders from Mexico, leaders from Brazil, leaders from Italy, leaders from all over this world. We have to take on global corporations. They've been fighting the working class globally for decades. It's time we have to fight this battle as a global working class, and that's the plan. That's what we're working on right now, and that's what May 1st, 2028 is all about, is workers coming united all across the globe and standing up and taking on corporate greed. Trying to glance through some more comments here. Yep, the labor movement will save America. The wealthy are the minority. Unions matter. You're damn right. And that's the problem here. We have the vote. We have the power. We just have to stand together, not continue to let the corporate class and billionaire class divide us, and we can get anything back we want. We run this country. We can shut it down if we decide to. Hey, Ford, Kansas City, thanks for your comments. Valley Casino dealers, how you doing? All right, it's hard for me to see all these comments and stuff. I'm trying to read through them all, but I thank everybody for getting on here tonight, and really look forward to what we have coming. Like I said, watch Friday night. That's the deadline at Daimler Trucks, and if we have to take action, I encourage all you to get out there and support our UAW family in North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee. And in a few weeks, we got a big vote coming up at Mercedes. So do all you can to support those workers down there, help them win their fair share. So look forward to further communication, and Let's keep doing what we're doing and stand up, and let's get ready to move more mountains. Thank you.